Art that changed. Mandela effects in paintings, statues, and sacred imagery. Welcome back. I'm Adeline, and today we're going to museums, cathedrals, textbooks, and statues. Because the Mandela effect isn't just changing movie lines and cereal boxes. It's rewriting art history, subtly, silently, and without explanation. In this special documentary video, we're going to walk through some of the most iconic artworks in the world, pieces etched into collective human memory, and explore how they now look completely different to those who remember them before the shift. From Michelangelo to Da Vinci, from dogs at a poker table to the facial shift of the Mona Lisa, we'll ask the impossible. Did reality change? Or did our memory just stay behind? The Last Supper, a holy grail, suddenly appears. Let's begin with one of the most reproduced images in Western art, Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. Millions grew up seeing this painting, on church walls, in school books, even in dorm room posters. It depicts the final meal between Jesus and his disciples, right before the betrayal. And for decades, the scene was remembered as sparse: bread, wine, gestures of shock and intimacy. But look closely now. There's something there that many people do not recall ever seeing: a prominent, central chalice. To those familiar with the Da Vinci Code or Catholic ritual, this may seem fitting. But for those who studied the painting for years, the Holy Grail was never in the painting. The entire premise of the Grail legend, especially in fiction, was that it was lost, not literally pictured on the table. Today, it's right there, almost glowing. Some versions even have multiple chalices, leading to further confusion. Did Leonardo suddenly decide to contradict the mystique of the Grail by painting it into the centerpiece of his most religious work? There's no record of it being added, no restoration history explaining the change. But for many, this is not the Last Supper they remember. Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, the creation of Adam's hand shift. One of the most famous painted hands in human history, the near touch between God and Adam on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. For decades, art students were taught that this moment was about the divine spark, God reaching out, Adam's finger just barely stretching back, passive, waiting for the gift of life. But now, look again. Adam's hand is no longer limp and idle. It's engaged, curled upward, showing equal tension to God's. His arm looks strong, active, reaching toward God with almost equal force. This subtle shift alters the entire theological narrative. Instead of being granted life, Adam now seems like he's pulling toward God, initiating the connection, or even matching divine power. Some interpret this as humanism. Others see it as a spiritual rewrite. But either way, it's not the hand we remember. And if the centerpiece of the most sacred chapel on earth is now out of sync with memory, what else has been retouched? American Gothic, the pitchfork that doesn't add up. The painting by Grant Wood, American Gothic, is a pillar of American art. A stern farmer and his daughter, or wife depending who you ask, standing in front of a Midwestern house, pitchfork in hand. But look at the pitchfork today. The number of tines, their alignment, and even the shadow beneath them do not match how many people remember the painting. Some recall 4 tines. Others recall 3, but thicker and uneven, with a heavier rustic design. Today, the pitchfork is dainty, almost stylized, and the tines seem too thin, too perfect. And that's not all. Compare the hands. The way they grip the tool feels awkward, as if inserted later or digitally adjusted. There's also inconsistency between the shadow of the pitchfork and its angle, an error that would have been obvious in classical painting, yet it exists today without critique. Is this a mere oversight, or has one of America's most replicated art pieces shifted under our noses? Dogs playing poker. Where are the visors? Cassius Marcellus Coolidge's famous series of dogs playing poker, intended as humorous advertising art, has become iconic Americana. Millions remember the dogs wearing green visors, puffing cigars, and playing cards with surprising intensity. But the visors? Gone. None of the dogs in the original or most known versions are wearing green dealer visors, despite that being one of the most quoted visual details. People swear they remember multiple dogs with poker visors, especially the bulldog or St. Bernard type. Many even claim to have posters, puzzles, or calendars that included the visor. So what happened? Are we all conflating images from casino movies? Or has this set of paintings been revised quietly, stripping away one of its most charming and specific quirks? This is a textbook, Mandela. Highly specific residue, visual clarity, and no trace in official archives. Mona Lisa, the smirk that wasn't there. We all know the Mona Lisa as the woman with the mysterious expression. But what's strange is how her expression has noticeably changed for many viewers over time. Historically, the Mona Lisa was said to be unreadable, neither smiling nor frowning, her mouth at perfect rest. Art teachers praised Da Vinci's ability to paint ambiguity. But now, she's smiling, clearly. Her lips are curved upward, her cheeks are subtly raised. The mystery is fading, and in its place is a visible smirk. For some, it looks mischievous. For others, smug. But the neutral expression, the central point of the mystery, is gone. Art critics now describe her as smiling softly. But that's a new cultural assessment. Old books and commentary repeatedly emphasize the blankness, the enigma. If the Mona Lisa's entire reputation was an unreadable expression, and now the painting no longer matches that interpretation, then something major has changed. Statue of Liberty, the island that moved. Here's a wild one. Is the Statue of Liberty on the wrong island? Millions remember her standing on Ellis Island, the symbolic gateway to America. It made sense. Immigration, hope, arrival. Ellis was the story. But today, she's on Liberty Island. Not only that, some people remember visiting the torch, climbing up to it in the 70s, 80s, or even 90s. But officially, the torch has been closed to the public since 1916, after the Black Tom explosion, an act of sabotage linked to World War I. How can so many people have a memory of standing in the torch, looking out, and taking photos? Some remember spiral staircases that no longer exist. Others recall clear views that could only be seen from that height. And just like that, history now says, closed for over a century. If national monuments can shift locations or access rules, how stable is our history? The Thinker, the hand on the chin, that isn't Rodin's The Thinker, is one of the most famous sculptures in the world. A man deep in contemplation, resting his chin on his hand, right? Except today, the statue's hand is not under his chin. It's curled across his mouth toward his forehead. This pose has changed the entire visual meaning. Instead of deep in thought, it now appears like worry, anguish, or even embarrassment. What makes this especially eerie is that thousands of parodies, figurines, and school projects still depict the old pose, with the hand under the chin. So which is it? Did a statue visited by millions shift its posture? Or have thousands of people and artists just copied it wrong? Bonus: the Vitruvian Man. Geometric recalibration? Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man is another core memory, a study of perfect proportions, a harmony of the human body within the circle and square. But modern viewers have noticed something strange. The proportions feel off. The arm alignment, the width of the torso, the balance of leg placement. It's hard to explain unless you studied it, but many report the geometry feeling different. The perfection, slightly disrupted. The design, a bit more mechanical. Has the sacred geometry behind it changed? This could easily be dismissed as artistic reinterpretation, until you realize the original drawing is now sparking debate over sacred alignment in a way that never existed before. King Henry VIII, the turkey leg that vanished. One of the strangest and most cited Mandela effects in classical portraiture doesn't involve a religious symbol or a statue. It involves a turkey leg. If you're one of the millions who grew up seeing a portrait of King Henry VIII holding a massive turkey leg, you're not alone. This image was everywhere, used in textbooks, comedy sketches, Halloween costumes, and pop culture caricatures. The scene was iconic. Henry, dressed in lavish Tudor garb, gripping a roasted leg of meat, symbolic of his indulgence, power, and appetite. But now, no such portrait exists. You can comb through every known official painting, museum catalog, and historic archive. There is no image of King Henry VIII holding a turkey leg. Not in sketches, not in commissioned art, not even in parodies from the era. This has left people puzzled, because the memory isn't vague. It's vivid, specific, recalled in detail. Many can even describe the posture. The leg held aloft, a confident smirk on his face, perhaps seated at a table, feasting. Others remember a framed image of it, even in school libraries or early educational books. So where did this visual come from? Some historians argue that the image was never real, that it was a pop culture fabrication, exaggerated over time by comedy sketches, cartoons, or children's books. But here's the problem. People remember seeing it in formal settings, not just TV or parody. Some claim it was in encyclopedias. Others remember seeing it in museums or antique shops. These aren't places you expect fictional imagery to be inserted. And more importantly, if it never existed, why was it reproduced so consistently? This is where the Mandela effect becomes undeniable, when not only memory, but cultural replication points to something that has now vanished. It's not just that Henry VIII never held a turkey leg. It's that we all believed he did, because the evidence once felt real. It was part of his persona, the gluttonous king, the over-the-top monarch who split from the Catholic Church and had 6 wives. Of course he'd be shown mid-meal. Of course he'd be painted gorging. But now, there's nothing. Not even parody art from his own era. Not a single sketch shows the gesture we remember so clearly. It's as if the visual was retroactively edited, not just removed, but erased from every reference point, with only our collective memory left behind as residue. So what does this mean? Is it a case of mass cultural implantation, an imagined detail repeated until it felt real? Or is this an example of visual timeline drift, where an alternate version of art history once existed and has now been overwritten in ours? The King Henry VIII turkey leg is important, not because it's historically significant, but because it shows how something small can become deeply embedded in cultural consciousness, and then vanish without a trace. So if a monarch can lose his feast, what else are we losing in the cracks of reality? When ancient statues pose differently, when paintings smirk that once stood still, when sacred hand gestures, symbols, and storylines quietly rewrite themselves, we're not just looking at a change in art, we're looking at a change in reality's canvas. You're not misremembering, you're holding on to a version of visual truth that is no longer being shown. Let me know in the comments, which of these shifts did you notice first? Was it the Mona Lisa, the thinker, or something even weirder? Because if the art is changing, so is the world that made it. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11x published author, and what you just watched was only a taste of what's inside the Truth series, where we go all the way down the rabbit hole. If you're the kind of person who's always asking bigger questions, who knows there's more to this world than what we've been told, then this is your invitation to the series that was built for you. Inside the Truth series, you'll get full access to 6 mind-blowing sub-series designed to wake up your highest intelligence and decode the matrix we live in. 1. Locate the truth. Learn how to actually research, not just what to search, but how to verify, cross-reference, read declassified files, and protect your own mind from weaponized misinformation. This is truth-seeking decoded. 2. The Mandela effect. Are we shifting timelines? Why do so many people remember a different past? We break down the most bizarre, undeniable examples of reality glitches and what they tell us about consciousness and control. 3. Law is magic. Law is not what you think it is. From word spells to maritime law and hidden contracts, we uncover how legal systems use language like a wand, and how to stop being tricked by fine print that binds you without consent. 4. Entertainment or ritual. The Hollywood and music industries are not just for entertainment. From Super Bowl rituals to Grammy stage symbolism, we decode what's really being shown, who it serves, and why mass consciousness is the target. 5. Decoding dystopia. Ever wondered why dystopian fiction feels prophetic? In this subseries, we decode popular films and books, Hunger Games, 1984, Black Mirror, to reveal the hidden blueprints and predictive programming behind the plot. 6. MK Ultra plus mind control programs. This one gets deep. From real MK Ultra documents to modern symbolism in media, we expose how mind control operates in plain sight and how to free yourself from manipulation you didn't even know was happening. And that's just the beginning. If this resonated with you, click the links below and join us inside the Full Truth series, because the more you know, the harder you are to control. This is your awakening. We don't just ask questions, we find answers. Let's go all the way down the rabbit hole together.